Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and we got another absolutely fantastic show coming your way, and I'm just looking so forward to the topic that we're going to talk about, and also this absolutely fantastic guest that's going to be here with us today, and of course, my executive producer over there, and also co-host Michelle Cooley. How you doing?
I'm
And
doing good.
and we got the permanent fixture on the show. That's what I used. We got Dr. Michael Mantel, who's going to be help hosting the show today. So, how is everyone doing today?
Great. Great. I'm excited.
I'm
Doing
excited.
terrific. It's always great to be here.
You know, I'm excited about the topic, especially some of the things have been happening. I'm talking about as it relate to cardiology and heart attacks and all of these things. Just to have one of these experts on with us today to talk about some of these things. But I'll tell you what, before we get started, I want to bring the radio portion of it in, and so let's get them started. Let's do it, Kevin.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and we got an absolutely fantastic, wonderful show coming your way today. And I'm always excited to have my executive producer, Dr. Michelle Cooley, and and my great friend who's going to be co-hosting this with us today, Dr. Michael Mantel. How are you all doing today?
Doing terrific. Doing terrific.
Yeah, we got a terrific show today with an amazing guest. So I'm really excited.
I'm excited about this as well, and we're going to be talking about just like I mentioned briefly shortly. We're going to be talking about you know cardiovascular, heart attacks. We're going to talk about a lot of different things on what we can do to try to stay healthy so that we can prevent as many of these type of problems that might come our way. So wherever you're watching this at, was it E360 TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, over 25 other live streaming platforms, or listening to it on the radio, KCBQ. If you can be part of the conversation a couple of ways. You can call into the station and we'll get you on. Or you can go to the comments and just you can join us for this great conversation that way as well. So I want to go ahead on and get this thing started because I'm excited about this guest. And Michelle, can you do the honors and tell our listening audience and viewers the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce this fantastic guest?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of the show today is Taking Back Your Health. And we're getting to know integrative cardiologist Dr. Melody H. Ermel. And we'll talk about how preventable risk factors account for more than 90% of heart attacks and learn why significant disparities exist for Black Americans and for women in terms of timely diagnosis and proper management of cardiovascular disease. And we're going to learn how poor nutrition is the leading cause of poor health and how each individual can tremendously improve their health by improving their nutrition, exercise, stress management, and other lifestyle related risk factors. So let me introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Melody H. Ermel. Dr. Melody H. Ermel received a MD at Tufts University School of Medicine in Boston, Massachusetts. She completed her internship and residency training in internal medicine at the LA County University of Southern California, Keck Medical Center in Los Angeles, California, and her fellowship training in cardiovascular medicine at Scripps Clinic in La Jolla, California. She also completed fellowship training in integrative medicine through the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine and a healthcare musician certificate through the Public Music for Medical Environments training program in Boston, Massachusetts. As an integrative cardiologist, Dr. Hermel combines traditional and alternative approaches to treat high cholesterol, high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, cardiac arrhythmia, congestive heart failure, and women's heart disease. She strongly believes in partnering with her patients to formulate a custom approach to take back their health and prevent disease. There's so much more I can tell you about this amazing doctor, but she's going to tell us all. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Melody Ermel, cardiologist.
Hey, how you doing, Doc? Welcome to the show. I'm excited about this show. I'm excited.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited about getting the education that you're going to put out to all of us and our listening audience, because we need to know a little bit more about this topic. And so, can you tell our listeners where you grew up at, and just a little bit about you? And I'm gonna turn the floor over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and lived there my whole life. I went to school there, undergrad at Brandeis University and medical school at Tufts. And then I met my husband, who is from the West Coast. So I got pulled out to the West Coast, but originally from Boston.
Can you tell our listeners what inspired you to be a cardiologist?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, one of my biggest role models is my dad. He's actually a gastroenterologist, a specialist in everything colon and stomach, guts, all of that. And so just growing up, I saw his work ethic. Him and my mom both have incredible work ethic. His dedication to his patients. I saw how he could make people really feel better and put a smile on their face and get people's, just really feeling better and healthier. And I was so inspired, and I wanted to be like that. And I always joke he was never more disappointed in me than when I became a cardiologist because I didn't choose gastroenterology. But I think the heart is just the most incredible organ, and it has, so many different possibilities. We've got the mechanical system and the electrical system, and it's really a musical organ. You've got the abnormal heart rhythms and the abnormal murmurs. And so I have a musical background as well, and I'm just drawn to the heart. And for me, I think heart disease is where I can have the greatest impact on my patients' lives and helping people, because heart disease is the #1 killer worldwide, and it does not need to be that way. 80% of heart disease is actually preventable. For me, I'm very passionate about prevention and about making good choices and empowering patients to take an active role in their health. And so heart disease is the perfect place to work on these issues.
Melody, you said you were born and raised in Boston.
Yes.
I don't hear an accent. That's an odd first question to comment on, but think about that. But I do want to ask you a question. The heart, of course, is the heart of our life. You have a glow. It comes out that you focus in on the very element of life. I have a question for you about that. Do you think that, we know nutrition is so important to heart health and physical activity and reducing stress and tension. How important is our mind in terms of feeding our well-being?
That's an excellent question, and it's extremely important. First of all, I think people don't realize, you mentioned stress there. Stress is a bigger risk factor for heart disease than diabetes. Everyone thinks of diabetes, big risk factor for heart disease, and we don't pay enough attention to stress and our mental health, our mental well-being, and they're extremely connected. You have to be motivated, you have to be educated, you have to be, willing to make certain decisions, and then to put all of those that knowledge into action. You have to be in the right frame of mind, and if we try to pretend that our mental health and our physical health are disconnected, that's we're fooling ourselves. They're incredibly connected. There's study after study showing stress and heart disease are linked. I'll give you an example. There's data showing, during the Northridge earthquake on that day, they looked at that particular date on a couple different years, and the number of deaths due to a cardiac cause on the day of the Northridge earthquake went way up, skyrocketed, just because of the stress that people went through being in an earthquake. So all different types of stress, just an earthquake type of stress or chronic stress, financial stress, any sort of stress that someone's dealing with. So huge impact on our heart health. And it's really interesting. It actually remodels our bodies. Our kidneys start to hold on to more fluids. That causes our blood pressure to go up. Our livers remodel, and it changes how we process our sugar, for example. And so every part of the body is so linked, and stress, being released as catecholamines and, norepinephrine, epinephrine being released in the body chronically over time can be incredibly harmful.
You mentioned that you are an integrative cardiologist and you have a passion about healthy lifestyle, not just for your patients, but for you and your family as well. Talk a little bit about what this concept of integrative cardiology means. It's a term we hear a lot about. It's becoming more and more popular. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. Well, when I first, I'll back up a little bit. When I first got interested in cardiology, I was interviewing for fellowships all across the country. And I sat in, doctors' offices all over, top-notch programs, and they asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do cardiology. I'm very passionate about nutrition and about counseling patients to make positive changes, working together with patients on lifestyle changes. And they just looked at me in a lot of these top programs and said, well, why aren't you becoming a nutritionist? And I just thought that was crazy. Cardiology, again, we're talking about heart disease, the number one killer worldwide. I think cardiologists should be leading the efforts in prevention. So, it's kind of a rare breed to hear about an integrative cardiologist, but to me, everybody should be an integrative cardiologist. The real question is, well, why aren't you an integrative cardiologist? And what that term means, and what I was so drawn to. So essentially, it's an expanded toolbox. I'm a general cardiologist. I'm trained to do everything that all of the other cardiologists do in terms of procedures and stenting and taking care of heart valve issues and you name it, electrical issues, this and that. But on top of that, I did a fellowship in integrative medicine. So looking at alternative and complementary approaches in terms of supplements, acupuncture, different types of stress management techniques, and looking, at different cultures and different ways of approaching the patient and working together to best serve our patients and best help people. I'm not a cardiologist who says you don't want to be on statins. Sorry, I can't help you. I'm okay. Well, let's work together to see what's going to best serve you and also really take care of your risk factors, because we want to make sure we're giving you good guideline directed care.
We have to take a break in just a moment, but one quick question that we'll pick up on the other side. How do we motivate people to get up and do the things that you're trying to coach them to do?
Well,
let's go back to you.
We're gonna take a break right now, but when we come back, we're gonna pick up that question. We're gonna pick up that question, and if you want to be part of this great conversation, you can call in at 1-866-577-2473, or you can go to the comments and just ask any question that you want to. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Hi, I'm Todd Pierick, the producer of The James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And in the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, you can join James as he shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by Dr. James Cooley on Amazon.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, this it's just started out great. It ended first great. I want to pick it up with Dr. Mentary. I just asked a question prior to us going to the break. And if you want to be part of the conversation, you can call in at 1-866-577-2473 or go to the comments and just ask us any questions that you want. And I'm sure the great Dr. Melanie will provide you with the answer. So, hey, Doc, Mentary, you was asking a question prior to the break.
Yes. So, Dr. Hermel, you are a very, very rare breed. You are a health coach, physician. It's amazing how you bring so much partnership, equality. I'm going to sit alongside my patient. I'm not going to tell them what to do and then go. You are right there with them to promote their lifestyle. But a lot of that, as we've discussed off the air, has to do with helping people find motivation. Can you talk about how you do help people find that internal motivation to eat well, sleep well, live well, socialize well, exercise, all the things that we know are important?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it boils down to listening and to empathy and to, building a connection. How many times have you been to the doctor and you can hardly get a word in, right? We're actually trained in integrative medicine to sit quietly and listen to the patient, listen to what they're saying. And I think, it's kind of a reversal of what maybe was trained in the past, take away the finger wagging, hear what the patient's saying and try to work from there. I often ask patients, for example, where are you on a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of how motivated you feel? 1 is I'm never going to change my diet. Don't even talk to me about it. And 10 is I'm ready to start right now. And let's say somebody tells me I'm a 3. I will ask them, well, why are you a 3 and not a 1? And that gets people thinking, I'm not a one because, you know, I know heart disease is the number one killer. I don't want to die of heart disease. I know it's important to eat healthy. And I get the patient talking, and they start to tell me all the reasons why it's important to eat healthy. And so then I listen and I agree with them, you know. And so a lot of it is getting people to kind of realize what they already know and why it's important to them.
Wow. That's just like Dr. Lantier just said, that's a rare breed because most physicians, when they're dealing with patients, they just want to deal with the problem right then there, get them out of there, get somebody else and get them out of there. But you take the time to explain a whole lot of things to them and actually work together, which is fantastic. Can you tell us the effect of long haul COVID? How does that affect the heart?
Absolutely. This is a massive area of research right now, and I've actually published on this as well. First of all, the studies are showing anyone who's had COVID have higher rates of heart disease, you know, just the typical heart attack, tachycardia, you name it, any regular heart disease issue are coming in at higher rates. But COVID in particular, we're seeing is associated with higher rates of myocarditis, pericarditis. So we're seeing inflammation of the heart, of the lining of the heart, and in particular, it's impacting the blood vessel linings, causing abnormal clotting, for example. And we're seeing patients coming in with long haulers types of symptoms. So specifically with the heart, you know, excessive fatigue, it can be shortness of breath, it can be tachycardia. I've seen a lot of this. Heart rate is jumping up abnormally. Patients used to be able to live their life, and now walking from one room to the other, their heart rate's jumping up 30 points and they're out of breath. So we're seeing a lot of this now, and the question is, you know, do you treat it the way we treat standard heart disease, or is there going to be something specific that we can target from an inflammatory perspective, specifically related to COVID, to help these patients? And that's where a ton of research is happening right now.
Wow. So in my family, and I speak that we have a history of heart disease. What are some of the things that we can do if you got a history in the family that we can do to try to help prevent a heart attack?
Absolutely. Well, this is one of my favorite things, you know, about the heart, which is I think it's a very empowering story. I am not sitting here telling you there's nothing that can be done. And I'm here to tell you there's a lot that can be done. We actually know that if you carry genetic risk factors, if you have a strong family history, but you live a healthy lifestyle and take good care of yourself, you actually will have lower rates of heart disease than those patients who don't carry those genetic risk factors, but are not taking good care of themselves. So it's very empowering to know that, and to get into the nuts and bolts of what do I do? Well, the first thing is to equip yourself with the knowledge. You know, everyone needs to know their numbers. You need to know your blood pressure. You need to know your cholesterol. You need to know your genetic risk factors. And for example, a lipoprotein little a, or what genes you carry specifically. So first we need that knowledge. And then on top of that, you know, we're talking about eating healthy, exercising, managing our stress appropriately, making sure we're not smoking, cigarette smoking, you know, not doing drugs, not drinking excessive alcohol, you know, so just to name some of the modifiable risk factors for heart disease. And it's a very empowering story.
Dr. Hermel, what about obesity as another major contributor to heart disease? I've done a lot of writing about this. My master's thesis was based on obesity. And we're hearing a lot today about the struggle between diet, exercise, or medication. And we just saw this on 60 Minutes this past week. But obviously, obesity takes its toll on the heart. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We are living in a day and age where more Americans are sick than healthy. 3 in 4 are overweight or obese. You know, which 1 in 4 American teenagers are overweight or obese. And the risk factors, you know, in terms of the risk related to obesity, connection to diabetes, and the risk, in terms of provoking heart disease. You can't argue with it. It's right there. It's a huge problem, and as you mentioned, I think so many people are looking for, is there a pill I can take? Is there a quick way to fix this? And unfortunately, I think the medications are fantastic. I think there's a lot that can be done. There are procedures that can be done. There's surgeries. There are medications. And I think that in the right person at the right time, those are very valuable. But I always try to get back to the basics, before we get to those things. Let's take a look at, well, what are we eating? How much are we eating? Are we exercising? Are we sleeping enough at night? We know that if you're not sleeping, you're not going to be able to successfully lose weight. So I think getting back to the basics of how we take care of our bodies is incredibly important.
There is clearly a health equity issue when it comes to cardiological care across the board, not just cardiological care. What are we seeing as far as that goes in cardiology? What are the racial disparities that we need to be aware of, and how can we begin to not just talk about it, but actually do something about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, Black Americans are 30% more likely to die of heart disease than non-Hispanic white Americans. And so I think that's, just hearing that statistic alone, we know that Black Americans have much higher rates of high blood pressure, higher rates of diabetes. And so the disparities, as you mentioned, it's clearly there. You can't argue with the data. I think it starts with so connected to socioeconomic influences and social disparities, and improving education and access to care. I think access is a huge part of the problem. Being able to get in to see your primary care doctor, to be screened for certain issues, to even get to the specialist, to even start the conversation is so important. Access to healthy food. We're talking about nutrition. Are you even living in a place where there's a supermarket that's selling healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables? That's a huge problem. And of course, healthy food, it costs more than the unhealthy options. And, what are we doing from a policy standpoint to subsidize and offer healthy alternatives, as opposed to, if somebody's on a food program, if you're on food stamps and you get X amount of money and you need to use that, you're going to go for the, shelf stable food that's going to last for a long time, very carb heavy. That's not necessarily clearly not healthy for you, from what we're seeing, and clearly the cause of obesity and diabetes that we're talking about. So I think these are huge problems, and so much that needs to be done from a policy standpoint, and even from an individual standpoint. Providers, physicians need to be aware and partnering with their patients. If you're wagging your finger and talking about nutrition, but you don't even begin to address your patient can't afford that food, or doesn't have access to that, or can't come back to see you, or doesn't have transportation to get there. I mean, if you're not thinking about these issues, then no, the diet's not going to change. So, it really comes to listening, understanding, meeting people where they're at, working together. And I think that's, where we start.
I believe that you just hit all the points. Everything comes from having a healthy diet and a healthy mindset, meaning being able to stick with whatever you start. And also, you're right about the foods and the supermarket and the socioeconomical stuff that goes along with that. But we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about this Mediterranean diet and get a chance to know what some of the benefits to eating or trying a Mediterranean diet might do for a person's health. So I tell you, this is so exciting. And a Dr. Mantel, you hit a winner this time, because we need to be talking about these type of things. So let's take a station break. and let's come back and pick it up from there. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after this break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
There's much truth in a journey that ain't over yet, as all of us journey through life's precious gift of time.
Is Annette Wittenberger. I am the founder of A Wild Ride Call Life, and
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Or wherever books are sold.
Streaming now on the Answer San Diego app and Odyssey.com.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I tell you, just getting educated here. Got these two great doctors that's here, and it's a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about because they figure if they talk about these things that it's going to happen to me. But I think that we need to talk about them. We need to understand that, and we need to follow the great doctor's advice. And making sure that we can prevent as much as possible from having heart attacks and controlling our diets and being able to function, properly. So I want to hear a lot more of this. And if you want to be part of the conversation, pick up the phone 1-866-577-2473, or you just go to the comments and ask the great doctors, either one of the great doctors, any question that you want. Dr. Mante, I'm turning it back over to you.
Sure. We were talking about diet, and the word diet has the word die in it. So we have to be careful. We're not talking about going on a diet. We're talking about nutritional planning. And so, it was an article just released the other day. I think it came out of Harvard. I could be mistaken. Where they looked at vegan diets, which everyone thinks, wow, I'm a vegan. Oh, boy, look how great I am. And then we have the Mediterranean diet, of course. And then this article said that a combination of careful, balanced eating is great. Then we have, of course, Dr. Lippman and others who say that, and the blue zones that say the whole plant-based diet is the best. Dr. Hermel, tell us from a cardiac perspective, what's your experience in terms of the way we would wisely be eating?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think the labels have to go. That's where there's a lot of confusion. Should I be on the vegan diet, the vegetarian, pescatarian? Should I be on the plant-based? Am I on low carb? Am I, on the natural? So all of these labels are very confusing. And I think, any of those different labels can be done in a healthy way or in an unhealthy way. You could be a vegan and eat cookies and drink, soda and call yourself a vegan. So I think the titles themselves are dangerous. It's really about what are we putting in our mouths, and does the food that we're eating look like food? How processed is it? I think getting back to the basics, it's fruits and vegetables. First of all, we need 5 to 10 servings a day, with each serving being half a cup. So lots more fruits and vegetables than we realize. We need whole grains. We need nuts. We need the healthy fats. And so starting to think about what are the foods, making sure it's not too processed. There's been studies looking at patients who are given the same exact food, but one is processed and one isn't, even though they have the same amount of fiber and protein and carbs and fat. But just the processing in and of itself, those patients ate more and gained more weight. So we know, the labels have to go. We have to be not processed and getting back to the basics of the healthy food items.
Define, when you say processed, give us an example. What is processed and not processed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, first of all, when it comes to labeled products, are you getting something that's in a box that has a label on it, that has a list of ingredients? Some people use this as their criteria for what to eat or not eat, depending on how many ingredients are in the product. So if it's got more than a handful of ingredients, there's probably a considerable amount of processing going on there. To give you another example, let's look at, oatmeal, for instance. You can get the old-fashioned oatmeal, the slow-cook oatmeal, or you can get the 1-minute oatmeal. And that's a type of processing because they've had to cut that stalk of grain and get all of the fiber off of it, and get right down to the core where it's basically pure sugar, and that cooks really quickly. Of course, that has a high glycemic index and raises our blood sugar quickly, and then drops our blood sugar quickly. So what I tell my patients is, when you eat foods that have high glycemic index, you actually get hungrier because your blood sugar drops quickly. So, it's that type of situation when it comes to processing. I think we've got to stick with the food that looks like food. Do the vegetables and fruits look like the way they grew, or is this in a box and you don't know half the ingredients on there?
Dr. Cooley, I wonder if you're like me. If there wasn't a microwave around, I don't know that I could eat.
It would be very tough.
What do you think about, is there any truth to the idea that, don't ever put anything in the microwave, that's going to kill you?
Well, that's a good question. This comes up a lot. Does it need to be cooked? Does it need to be raw? Can I microwave it? Can I cook it? I think, another question I get a lot also is in terms of blended items. Is it okay to take the fruits and vegetables and blend them into a smoothie? Is that healthy, right? And actually, I think the bottom line is we want our bodies to be doing the work, to be digesting the food, as opposed to sticking it in a blender and, letting the blender do all the work. When we eat fiber, when we eat the right types of foods, it delays our gastric emptying. It makes us feel full longer. And it's really beneficial for our bodies to be doing that process. So in terms of, can you use a microwave or not? I don't claim to be the authority on that. But if you're choosing to take out a bag of steamed fresh broccoli and eat that from the microwave versus some microwave popcorn, I think you know where I stand on that issue.
Funny you mentioned that. Michelle she loved these smoothie things. And now I think you just told her that it's best to eat the fruit without blending it all up. So let's talk about cholesterol. Mm-hmm. I know that plays a major role in heart disease. Is it possible? Can you lower your cholesterol without statin therapies or any of that type of stuff?
Absolutely. So cholesterol, lipids, one of the biggest risk factors for heart disease. And, again, heart disease, number one killer, 80% of it's preventable. So we have a lot that we can do here. And again, diet is a huge thing that we can do in terms of lowering our lipids. You'd be so surprised if we cut back on actually the fats and also especially the carbs. We can actually really lower our lipids on our own. You'd be so surprised to hear this. We process the carbs in our bodies and actually turn them into fats. So eating too much in the way of carbohydrates is not healthy for you. There was a big push, go back 50, 60 years, low fat, no fat, take all fat out of the diet, lower everybody's cholesterol. Well, what did they do? They dumped carbohydrate into every product, and now diabetes, obesity skyrockets, and it's not a surprise. So it's not just taking out the fats. If you have a choice between low fat salad dressing or whole fat salad dressing, I would choose the whole fat and just have a very small amount of it, as opposed to the low fat, which is, high fructose corn syrup in there and lots of sugar and carbohydrate, which is going to be turned into fat faster in your body than if you just ate a little bit of the fatty salad dressing.
So how important it is, and I know it's important, but a lot of people say they on diets and this and that, but then they don't want to work out. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you just explain briefly, then we got to take a break.
Yeah.
How important is having a balance of both of those important in lowering heart disease and heart attacks?
So exercise is on a U-shaped curve. Too little is not good for you. Too much is not good for you. So we need to be right in the middle. We should be getting about 30 minutes of exercise, at least 5 days a week. Although I always tell my patients, I'm not going to counsel you to exercise any less than 7 days a week. You need to be up and moving every single day. On the days that you're not doing intense exercise, you should at least be out for a walk. Or, if you're on a bike and you're doing 30 minutes a day, then on the days that are the break days, do at least 5 to 10 minutes every day. You got to be moving every day. You got to get your heart rate up. And I think they're so interconnected. All of these things we're talking about, eating healthy and exercising and stress management, every step you take pushes you in the right direction. So if you go out for a walk, you start to feel better, right? Then you come home and you pick a healthy snack to eat. And then you decide to sit down and take a couple minutes to relax and alleviate some of the stress. And so I think every single moment we have a choice to make. It doesn't matter what happened right before. Maybe you chose to eat the wrong thing, but you start from that moment and it pushes you towards the next right decision. And, all of these things are so connected and interplay and make us feel, motivated to make that next good choice.
Let's test your speaker before.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. The J.C. Cooley valor, experience. The values that make veterans are the values that make veteran business.
He is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now?
Much better.
I said, welcome back to the show. And I'm just learning so much information from you, Dr. Mellon, and you are always Dr. Mantell. And I know our viewers are having a great time as well. And I tell you, I want to pick it up from here. And if you want to be part of the conversation, 1-866-577-2473. I'm turning it back over to you, Dr. Mantell.
Thank you. And it's really an honor to be on with Dr. Hermel. And you can see why I suggested that the audience would really benefit. This is a very, very heartfelt, caring cardiologist. I like to say that it's not what's in the black bag that's healing, that the physician carries. It's what's in the heart of the physician that's carrying that black bag. And Dr. Hermel is showing us what that means. So I have a question. We have all kinds of symptoms. We wake up, we have aches and pains depending on our age. I'm 23 and wait a minute. No, that's not true. But we have signs and symptoms. We have a pain in our arm. We may feel a rush, a beating, a heart. We may get dizzy. When do we need to be concerned? What are the symptoms when we should just call the doctor or get ourselves to the ER or 911? Is there a range of symptoms you can help our audience understand what they should be paying attention to?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we'll start with the most common things. Anyone that's experiencing chest pain, shortness of breath, palpitations, lightheadedness, dizziness, anything unusual that is new, more fatigue, any of this could be what we call a cardiac equivalent, an anginal equivalent. So, the traditional thinking is when you walk, you get chest pain, and when you sit down, it goes away. When you walk, you get chest pain, and that is what we call angina. And that could indicate that there's a problem in a coronary artery, a blockage, for example. And actually, it turns out that women and actually diabetics are two groups that present differently and don't necessarily show up with those symptoms. Women could be feeling lightheaded or a little dizzy or a little more tired than usual. And this is true in men as well, but more commonly in women and in diabetics, we have atypical symptoms. And so I always advise my patients, anything out of the ordinary, your body the best. You are the expert on your body. So, always call us, check in, don't hesitate, to seek medical attention. I think we were talking about COVID earlier. One of the biggest tragedies that happened during COVID that I witnessed was patients were afraid to come to the hospital. And besides from patients dying of COVID, people were not coming in. I saw medical conditions that you don't see nowadays. I saw people who had heart attacks, stayed at home, and didn't get care for a week or two later, who came in with all the complications that you read about in the textbooks because they were afraid to come in, understandably so. I've had women, come and tell me that they didn't want to go to the ER because they don't want to be told it's just stress. And one of my patients, I always think of this whenever I see her, she told me that she was afraid to come in. And she actually had 99% blockage of the left anterior descending, which is what we unfortunately call the widowmaker, very serious, culprit vessel. that needs to be taken seriously. And she was afraid to come in to be told that. So I think listen to your body. You're the expert on yourself. You know what you're feeling. And if your doctor's not taking you seriously, then you need to find a different doctor.
I'm sorry. We were talking at the beginning of this broadcast today about integrative healthcare. More and more people are beginning to use all sorts of complementary aids, such as massage and herbal aromatherapy and acupuncture and yoga. What role do they play specifically in being able to promote health? And even we can even touch on anti-aging, if there's such a thing. What role does that play in your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I think this is something that our patients are interested in, our patients are doing. And, if they come in and tell their doctor all about acupuncture and the doctor doesn't want to hear about it, I think that creates a break in the patient-physician relationship. So first of all, just to build the relationship, you need to be knowledgeable about these alternative approaches, and I think at least open-minded about them. What's very important is to understand the evidence or lack of evidence that there is for each of these approaches. And patients will ask me, about a certain supplement. What I do is I'll research it, or if I know about it, I'll tell them, what is known, what does the data show? We have to look at the studies. Were the statistics, being skewed a certain way, or is this, really, is there safety information? Is there not safety information? Has this been studied in a large enough population? So being knowledgeable about these different techniques is very important because our patients are using them. And we need to know if there's an interaction with something that we're giving them. And we need to be listening so that we can be on the same page and build that rapport, build that relationship. And I think there's a lot of benefit to a lot of these alternative and complementary approaches. We were talking about stress being a bigger risk factor for heart disease than diabetes. Well, we need ways to combat that. Definitely acupuncture, massage therapy, as you mentioned there, aromatherapy, biofeedback therapy. There's so many different possibilities, and to be able to manage our stress. We all have stress, right? It's not going away, but we need ways to manage it better.
What about music? What about I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the role. You have a very interesting certification and a special interest in music, which we know about. What role does that play in cardiology?
Absolutely. There's actually been studies looking at heart failure patients who receive music therapy and do have better outcomes and fewer hospitalizations than patients who didn't receive the music therapy. So there's definitely benefit. Music is the universal language. I know when I sing to patients in the hospital, it doesn't matter what language they speak. I come in and we communicate through music, and you can really feel the connection. I've sung with patients who, whose loved one is dying or who've been through a tragic situation, and the music really can help heal and help people process really difficult times, difficult emotions. So there's no question about it. So many benefits to music. I know, especially during COVID, when families weren't able to come and visit the hospital, I was, playing music for my patients, and with the mask on, it was hard to sing, but I was playing them recordings of music that I wrote because, you need that human connection to be able to heal.
Wow. Yeah, just listening to you, I can tell you're a fantastic doctor. I mean, because just caring, singing to your patients, playing music. Ain't too many doctors do anything like that. They're not going to take that. And so we down to probably about the last couple of minutes of the show. But what are three main takeaways that you want our viewers to get from this absolutely sensational interview that we have?
Thank you. Well, first of all, everyone needs to know your numbers, know your cholesterol, know your blood pressure, go and get things checked. And we're all about prevention here. So make sure that you're at least equipping yourself with the knowledge. That's number one. Number two is this is an empowering story. 80% of heart disease is preventable. It's the number one killer. It doesn't need to be that way. So, let's all work on our diets and exercise and stress management and, cholesterol and blood pressure, as we're talking about cigarette smoking cessation, all of that. Number three, there are significant disparities in care. We were talking about Black Americans and in female patients as well, specifically. And so we need to all, especially I think the medical providers who are listening, be aware of this, be mindful, be making sure that the therapies we're providing are going to be useful, and try to improve access to care and education. And from a policy standpoint, we need to, make changes and improve the nutrition and health system, certainly. So, the bottom line is we all need to take back our health. We all need to take an active role and be active participants and partner with our physicians and, work to end this horrible pandemic. But, the chronic endemic pandemic is heart disease, and COVID is the acute one on top of that.
Dr. Melanie, you have been absolutely fantastic. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the show. And I'm going to say that we want you back on again real soon, if your time permit. Dr. Mantell, you already know how it is, man. It's just absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend. I'd like to thank my superb executive producer and co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley, for always putting together great programs. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our listening audience for taking time to tune into the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. It's Your Life. We'll see you same time tomorrow.
Yes, we are living proof of love at first.